Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining in. This video here, we're going to go over detailed project scope for Area 1. And if you saw the previous video here, gave you some reference as to where Area 1 is within the city. But just for refreshers here, Elm Avenue is on the south side of the screen here, tracing with my mouse. River Street is at the west side of the project, going north and south. Central Park, kind of the northern part of the project. City Hall is down here off the screen. Just going over the legend here, the orange lines, everything shown over here is the proposed improvements for this area. Orange indicates storm sewer improvements. The blocks are structures, the lines are the pipes. The green lines are the sanitary sewer improvements. Once again, the blocks are the structures, the lines are the pipes. The blue lines are the water main improvements. Get the hydrants or the blocks, and the lines of the pipes here. For the sanitary sewer and the water main, we're not showing the service lines on this figure here, but the service line improvements are included in this project as well. The darker gray streets are the street segments that are planned for this project here. Excuse me. If we zoom in a little bit here, you can see the proposed concrete that we're showing for the project, which would be the new sidewalk throughout the streets here. We'll be posting these figures to the city website so everyone can download them and take a closer look at them as well. But I'm going to stay kind of out at this zoomed view for now throughout this presentation here. We also are incorporating some alley improvements. Basically, any alley that's currently gravel right now, we're going to look at shaping and paving, or any alley that has poor bituminous surfacing, we're going to look at removing that bituminous surfacing and repaving. So we do have some storm sewer lines that run through a few of these alleys, trying to pick up some low spot drainage. So we'll be repaving these and shaping these as well. So going through kind of each project area here, sidewalk is proposed to be on one side of every reconstructed street. Each street will be reconstructed to have new concrete curb and gutter on both sides. Standard city width is 32 feet measured from face to face. So every street throughout this project area is going to be 32 feet measured face to face, with the exception of 2nd Street between Elm Avenue and Oak. We wanted to keep that a little wider because we know there's a lot of pickup and drop-offs with the community education building. And also Park Avenue, that is I believe 20-foot wide street. So we're gonna keep that the current width that it is. So with the proposed improvements here, the project is a complete reconstruct. So what that means is the current street is going to be basically reclaimed, which they'll come in with a reclaimer and grind up the existing bituminous surface with the aggregate base below it, strip that off, and then they'll go and they'll start replacing the utilities within the streets, the utility mains. Typically, they would start with a deeper utility, which would be the sanitary sewer. So they'll go and they dig through this entire city street, replace the sewer. They will be temporarily hooking up your sewer services with the new main as they go by. So you'll have continued sewer service throughout the project. Water main would typically follow the sanitary sewer. Prior to them completing the water main removals, they will be setting up a temporary water main system, which will be ran above ground and connected to each house. So you'll have uninterrupted water service throughout the project. When they do set up that temporary water service, there may be a short duration where your current water will be disconnected and they will have to reconnect that temporary water line. So, but any disconnection will be providing advanced notice, so no one's hopefully caught off guard with this work. So once they go through and they install the sanitary sewer and the water mains, they'll come back and they will install the service lines out to the right of way. So every sewer service and water service with this project on the reconstructed streets are getting new services up to the right of way line. And I'm sure as many of you know or are aware that we evaluated the sewer service lines with this project prior to this, and those failing services, if the property owner opted to include theirs in the project, would be replaced the exterior of their structure. Following that work, they'd come and install the new storm sewer lines. And once that is completed, they would, in a sense, core out the roads. They would dig out the section that they would need to accommodate the new street section, which is about 2 foot of thickness of sand, comprised of sand, gravel, and bituminous. They'd build the road as they dig it out. So throughout this whole process, access throughout these streets should be maintained. There may be periods while they're digging through the utilities in the main streets that you may not have access to your driveway. But if that were to occur, we ask the contractors to go ahead door to door and let people know that, hey, in a couple hours here, you might not be able to get out of your driveway. If you need to go anywhere, please park your car on a side street, just so you're not locked in your driveway if you have to get anywhere. Once they build the street, they would come and do the curb and gutter on both sides, and they have to let that sit for a few days, and then they would come and pave the street. So total process from by the time they go into a street and start doing removals till they have it, I would say, curb and guttered, ready to be paved, it could be anywhere roughly about 10 weeks long. Hopefully there's no inclement weather during the project that would slow things down, but we try and keep them moving, so whenever they do open up a street, they get it put back together within 10 weeks. Once we get a more detailed schedule from the contractor, we post that on the city website just to give a little bit of information on how we have it written to the project documents. The area bound by Elm Avenue and River Street to the east. So this area here, we have specifically written in that they cannot access this area prior to July 6th. We know this is a busy spot for the 4th of July typically. Hopefully we can continue that this year, but we want to keep them out of this area. We are hoping that they focus, or directing them to focus, on the area south of the railroad tracks, and if they need more streets to get into to meet the project deadline, we would allow them to get into the streets to the west of River Street. As I mentioned, we don't know exactly their plan of attack, but once we know that, we'll post that. So I'll go over kind of where the sidewalk's going on each street. As I mentioned, new proposed sidewalk along East Street that's getting reconstructed. This is pretty typical. We do this in all our new developments in town. So on the streets to the west of River, we have it on the inner loop. So the north side of Oak, east side of Maple, Wallace Street, and south side of Maple. As we cross over River Street, the sidewalk would stay on the south side of Maple all the way to 3rd Street. If we go down to Oak Avenue, it would stay on the north side. So we want to kind of keep that continuity of pedestrian traffic going as we move along. On the north-south streets, 2nd Street from Elm Avenue to Oak Avenue, we actually have sidewalk on both sides of the street, and that is to accommodate the unloading, kids dropped off, picked up at the community education building. Want to make sure that they can get out of the vehicles and get on a sidewalk. But once we get to the north side of Oak Avenue, it stays on the west side only. So one side of the street all the way up to Park Avenue. 3rd Street, similar to 2nd Street, both sides of the street between Elm and Oak. Part of that reasoning is we know that if there are services at the Iton Funeral Home, which is at this location at this northeast corner of 3rd and Elm, there can be a lot of traffic on these streets, and we want to be able to let people get out and get on the sidewalk. So both sides from here to here, and once we get on the north side of Oak, on the west side of 3rd Street. So that is generally the scope of the project here in Area 1. During the work, we would have continued garbage service. We work with Randy Sanitation and the contractor that they would schedule the pickup times at a time that would work with the contractor. Typically, the homeowners would bring the garbage cans out to the end of the driveway, as they typically would, and the contractors would haul them to an accessible street if the street was inaccessible. And then the garbage, Randy's would pick them up at the end of that street. Typically that happens right away, kind of their first pickup in the morning when we do have these types of projects. Also with this temporary mail service, we have in the contract that the contractor has to provide a mailbox cluster for the streets that is at a location dictated by the postmaster. So it'd be a bunch of mailboxes for it'd probably be 2 or 3 street blocks at one location. Your mail service would be delivered there if you choose. You do have the option to have your mail held at the post office if you would like to pick it up there instead. And we'd ask that the residents coordinate that with the postmaster. So a lot of information to take in here. I know if there are any questions, please feel free to shoot us an email. Our contact information is on the city website. So thank you for watching and look forward to getting things underway. Thank you.